My son said to me, Dad, I want you to focus on living in the moment.
A new soccer stadium, hoping to become the pride of the West End. It paves the way for many changes in the West End of Cincinnati. On this edition of Let's Talk Cincy, a look at the price of progress for this historic neighborhood.
The stadium's nice, it's glorious, it's provided jobs for people, it's provided income for my business, but I'm just being realistic. We need to make something happen here.
From WLWT, this is Let's Talk Cincy, presented by Western and Southern Financial Group. Put our financial strength behind you.
Hello everyone, I'm Curtis Fuller and welcome to Let's Talk Cincy. No doubt you've heard the phrase, change is inevitable. I am reminded of the iconic song Changes by David Bowie. He said, time may change me, but I can't trace time. Well, 2021 marks a time when you can trace the changes in the West End of Cincinnati. It is now the new home of FC Cincinnati's TQL Stadium. It's now welcoming soccer fans from all across Greater Cincinnati. Some hope it will kickstart the rebirth of that community. FC Cincinnati's new home is now considered the crown jewel of the neighborhood. We'll take a deeper look at the stadium and hear from folks who live and work in the West End. And the West End neighborhood stretches from downtown Cincinnati north to Camp Washington, and according to the 2010 census, it's home to a little more than 6,600 people who are predominantly African American. The report also says the median household income was $12,800. TQL Stadium is located on Central Parkway and cost $250 million to build. Construction started back on December 19th, 2018, with the stadium officially opening on May 16th of this year. FC Cincinnati fans finally have a place to call home. John London has more on the stadium's long journey from the drawing board to becoming a reality.
This is the result of a few ideas Jeff Burton kicked around and scratched on a legal pad 6 years ago. TQL Stadium. Like majority owner Carl Linder III, Burton is not one to dwell on sentimentality. But the other day,
My son said to me, Dad, I want you to focus on living in the moment.
the Legends Room speaks to the moment. You can have a 46 tap moment at the First Financial Club Beer Hall. And you'll need more than a few moments at the largest soccer stadium store in the country, with its own distinctive line of clothing.
You have the 513, those are supposed to be the fin lights. Then something like this, real nice, just settle for Cincy for Club.
Large branding in the 26,000-seat stadium is limited to the lion and the lettering. That's intentional.
Not screaming everywhere, oh, this is FC Cincinnati Stadium, because we view it as this is our community stadium.
Now that reality has set in, let's take inventory. A Major League Soccer stadium, a brand new stadium, and the backing of elite sponsors from right here in the Queen City. What business and political leaders believe TQL Stadium will mean for Cincinnati's future?
The West End has always been part of our future. And once again, we are reborn here in the West End, opening up a stadium in the fastest growing sport in America, the largest sport in the world. And this year will be the first time in 70 years, since 1950, that the population of the city of Cincinnati is rising again. We are reborn.
Inside, outside, everywhere you go, it's just totally exceeded any of my expectations. You know, when I think back of the original design drawings and just how it's progressed, I'm thankful to the community. This is a project that would never have happened had it not been for the diverse group of owners that we have, leaders in the community that jumped in.
There was a time not too long ago when people in Cincinnati were critics and didn't think we were hip enough or cool enough to support a cool downtown or 3 major league sport teams. But we have proven them wrong.
The great thing about this project is my family and our partners, we see this as a legacy project. we're not expecting to make any great return overnight, but over time, our family and our partners are strong believers in the magic trajectory of soccer, both worldwide and soccer in the United States.
Cincinnati Mayor John Cranley says the Queen City is ahead of the curve and not 10 years behind, as some might think. He says sports is what brings people together. Well, up next, with the stadium now open, let's talk about the vision to transform the rest of the West End. That discussion when Let's Talk Cincy continues. Welcome back, everyone. The look of the West End could get another major facelift if planning, money, and community buy-in align. A firm has now been selected to plan and revitalize housing and maximize transportation in the West End of Cincinnati. This is a trend we are really seeing in other cities all across the country. The transformation of urban neighborhoods into prime residential hotspots. It's called the West End Cincinnati Choice Neighborhood Initiative. The first phase of this project is fueled by a federal grant, one of only 11 awarded throughout the country.
What do we need to make sure we hold on to? What are the things worth preserving?
Call it the reimagining of the West End. We went with this team of architects and urban planners to look at Metropolitan Housing Authority properties that could be the centerpiece of change in this community for generations.
Cincinnati, I've said many times, but it's one of the most interesting urban contexts in the country.
This is phase one of the project. CMHA will use a nearly $500,000 federal grant and about $250,000 raised locally just to design a West End master plan to renovate or rebuild housing in this community. Give us some perspective of the scope of this.
Okay. Well, what we're doing is just doing our initial homework to look at the neighborhood, to look at the units and the housing, particularly owned by the Housing Authority, and talk to residents, start that dialogue about what's working and not working. But the plan, to your question, is likely to be multiple blocks of new housing. It's likely to happen over several years, and the key will be whether we can inspire and secure both partnerships but also financial partnerships to accomplish it. That will, by the end of the plan, we'll have an idea about how long each phase will take, somewhat dependent on how money is able to be secured.
Stanley Row Towers, Liberty Street Apartments, and Stanley Row Townhouses. CMHA says many of the units are functionally obsolete.
Few of the buildings have done renovations as recently as the early 2000s, so they're not surprisingly in a little bit better condition, but even that's 20 years, and we saw some significant challenges. We can always fix systems and we can replace the windows and do the things, but what's harder as I look at these units is they don't function for modern living in some ways, and so you would have to reconfigure the units, and so that we're going to show how you could do that, and then therefore the cost of that, but we don't want it to just be paint. We want it to be fundamentally creating modern housing. So there's a lot of challenges in the existing housing. There's a lot of capital needs that are basic, and then there's a lot of change that would have to happen to the units to make them more livable.
With the new soccer stadium within walking distance, this is prime property. Residents wonder if they will become obsolete too.
It's very understandable and typical to have questions up front about how does it impact my family, my household? Will I have to move? When will I move? What will I move to? And it's hard to answer those questions up front because our commitment is to do that in concert with the residents and with the neighborhood. So I don't have predetermined answers, but I have an idea of where we're trying to go, which is to build more and stronger choice in housing in the West End, and that means more housing in the West End.
It's a beautiful stadium, but it has caused some controversy, and I think initially, and that's probably what you're getting now, because a lot of people felt the stadium is going to be built people will be displaced.
It's nothing in it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, there have been so many similar situations recently where there's been new facilities built, and hopefully we're learning lessons where we're doing that more collaboratively. I think our hope is to leverage FC Cincinnati's interest and investment in ways that will benefit the neighborhood in a tangible way beyond the stadium, and jobs are something that could be associated, but maybe there's a way, and I think the authorities interested to know, are there ways to tap into that interest, because they have a vested interest in the quality and security and livability of this neighborhood too now. So we hope we'll talk to the ownership and others and see if there are mutual opportunities where they would help the plan along.
Well, the work to develop the West End Master Plan will take really about 2 years. The executive director of Cincinnati Metropolitan Housing Authority says residents will be involved in every step of this plan. Lord Ack Sargent is an Atlanta-based company that has been involved in similar neighborhood projects. We're told LAS just finished a plan to revitalize an area in downtown Nashville, also near a new soccer stadium. In addition, we're told HUD just awarded Atlanta a $30 million grant to implement the LAS master plan for a neighborhood in West Atlanta. Up next, cautious optimism. The concerns some West End residents and business owners are expressing about the future of their neighborhood when Let's Talk Cincy continues. In the West End, history has shown us that change can produce progress and pain. A good friend of mine and former West End resident Michael Allison always reminds me that the more things change, the more they stay the same. For many citizens, the banner of urban renewal really means urban removal. You see, many people will share the story of how thousands of West End residents were displaced in the late 50s and early 60s to make way for a new highway and new neighborhood. Like it or not, that is a painful perspective many people carry with them anytime you discuss change in the urban core.
What's going to happen? It appears that they're giving us the opportunity, or giving them the opportunity to be open and honest. However, I personally want to make sure that everybody's treated fairly, make sure everything is transparent. People are concerned about the relocation. For instance, if they knock this building down, what are they going to do with the residents? If they rebuild it, it's only supposed to be roughly 5 stories. Who are going to be those people in 5 stories? There's 156 units. What are you going to do with these people? So people are very concerned about the relocation, and rightfully so.
Can it be a good thing?
Well, I'll say this, change is always difficult. And it depends on the individuals and what they're willing to do, how quickly they will be able to adapt to change. It can be good for some, it's going to be difficult for others. We have to wait and see how things play out here.
But change is here. FC
Yes.
Cincinnati is here.
Yes.
How's that impacting the neighborhood?
I think a lot of us feel that because FC Cincinnati is here, you're standing on prime real estate, there's going to be a cultural change here in the city. A lot of people were raised here, grew up here, generations of folks, and they have a genuine concern what's going to happen in the future. FC Cincinnati doesn't make things any easier. So, they're in a quandary, rightfully so. And I think that if things go right, it can be beneficial to both parties involved. If not, there's going to be a cultural change regardless. We just want to be positive.
Now, to get a business owner's perspective, I talked to the owner of Ollie's Trolley. He's owned that place for more than 30 years. Marvin Smith told me he too is watching and wondering about what's next for the neighborhood.
Business, prior to opening, the construction workers really made our business a continued success. And now the customers are coming back. And on opening day, we weren't flooded, but we were crowded for the first day, for the first game.
And you like it that way?
Oh yeah, Oh yeah, and we were ready for it. You know, we hired extra people, bought more stock. We were ready for it, and we'll be ready again this weekend for the next game.
Do you think you'll ever get, let's say, a mini trolley to go over there near, just a tad closer to the stadium?
No, you know, I've learned from my experience to stay right here at home and take care of my existing business, so my loyal customers know I'm here and going to take care of them. And you know, whatever happens with that, that's a plus, because we've been successful for 30 years. So that's just another addition on what we've been doing.
Long-term look at the community. FC, they're now talking about new housing or the potential of new housing here in the West End. I mean, a lot of these places, they said the units are just becoming obsolete. They just are not usable. So what do you see in this neighborhood going forward?
Well, I'll tell you what I don't want to see. We'll start there. I'll start on the negative. I don't want to see a lot of more studies. We have enough studies about housing and what the needs are. We don't need studies that are going to eventually force people in the neighborhood out. We don't need that to happen. That's happened over and over and over. I know you got to have background and plans and all that, but you know, too many studies on this West End and too many studies on black people. You know, come on, we know what's needed. We need to just get busy and get it done. I'm a little frustrated because things that I saw in the plan that was supposed to happen are not happening. The stadium's nice, it's glorious, it's provided jobs for people, it's provided income for my business, but I'm just being realistic. We need to make something happen here, not just talk and not just study and walking people in and out of people's buildings. The next thing you know, they're moved someplace to another neighborhood with the promise that they're going to come back, and it never happens. It's not going to happen. People are making money off the development, and hell with the people that live here. I don't want to see that happen. Once that steam ball of production and development gets rolling, it just steamrolls right over you. I could be steamrolled here on this corner, but we actually own the property, and it's for sale. You know, it'll go to the highest bidder, but it's going to be on my terms. It's not going to be that I have to go. If I have anything to say about it. But I've seen, like, you know, business here across the street, the guy's been there for 30 years. 30 years he's been there. Eddie's Fast Eddie's Auto Salon. He's been there for 30 years. He's going to be uprooted in September. And you know what? He doesn't qualify any kind of assistance because he does not own the property. He helped stabilize this neighborhood, this corner, by bringing his family here and built the business there for 30 years. But because of the way the rules are, he's going to be out. He patches up cars for people, do their tires, do all kind of stuff. I'm talking pro bono. That's neighborhood. We're going to lose that if what happened in Over the Rhine happens to this neighborhood. And that's what's on track right now. I'm just letting everybody know. 10, 20 years from now, I might not even be alive. But you can replay what I'm saying now. It's going to happen. That's what's going on right now. That's why these architects are in and out of these buildings. Come on, we need to just be real about stuff and stop all this gobbledygook and this talk. You know, just keep it real. That's the way I am. You know, I've lived long enough. I'm successful enough. I'm independent enough. I can finally stand on my feet and rear back and tell it the way it is. And that's what we need, just straight talk.
A neighborhood setting benefits you.
Sure. Look, my example of Eddie being here, I'm here, the tire shop being here. These businesses, all four corners of these businesses have been here for 30 plus years. They were here before I got here. This was just an old vacant lot when I came. And after 30 years, I managed to stay, but I did it with the help of the neighborhood people, like the young man here, people that live in the neighborhood that work here. I hire from the neighborhood. We serve the neighborhood. I can't say more strongly that we got to start with who are we really trying to help? Who are we really trying to help? If you're trying to help the bottom line, you're not trying to help the people that live here, because the numbers are not going to let you do that. You got to figure out a way to do it. They've done it in other communities, so we need to do it right here in Cincinnati. And I'm going to be the strongest cheerleader for it.
When Let's Talk Cincy returns, the program helping local businesses to bounce back from this pandemic. We'll be right back. We want to hear from you. Email us your ideas. The address is ltc@wlwt.com. And remember, you can always watch full episodes of the show, or you can get more information on WLWT.com/Let's Talk Cincy. You can also listen to Let's Talk on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. FC Cincinnati and Major League Soccer have partnered with 3 local Black-owned businesses for some limited edition licensed merchandise. Originalities, Black-owned, and Go and Go.com apparel sell apparel and accessories from their shops and online. As part of FCC's One Club, One Community, One Goal platform, which advances the organization's commitment to addressing racial disparities and social injustices through action. Well, building a business is no easy task, and keeping it on track during a pandemic makes the challenge even harder. That's why the Greater Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky African American Chamber of Commerce is opening its doors to help businesses survive. Colin Mayfield explains how they are helping entrepreneurs pivot.
Pivot, the initiative launched by the African American Chamber, will offer business owners opportunities and resources to get on a strategic path to recovery.
Be immersive with small businesses. So any small business that calls the African American Chamber of Commerce, we go in, we talk to them, we provide them with resources, with connections, with information about potential funding.
It's the proverbial lifeline being thrown out to any and all businesses in the community. While some businesses received federal support funds, most needed more and still struggled in the clutches of this pandemic. An economic impact report found that nearly 100,000 businesses closed permanently since last March.
We're really focused on it with these business counselors who actually spend time and talk with them and see what we can do to help these companies. And hopefully we'll see a rebound.
With some of the region's largest Chamber of Commerce offices, collaborative support is poured into Pivot to make sure owners can access specifically whatever they need for their business.
One of the great things that has happened as an outcome of this pandemic is that a lot of economic organizations are working together.
And that community support is something the AACC believes will carry business beyond recovery to an even greater advancement. So city-based companies, even if they are virtual or have a brick-and-mortar space, they're encouraged to jump in on this. Pivot open to members and non-members of the African American Chamber. We've posted information on how to get involved on WLWT.com. I'm Colin Mayfield, WLWT News 5.
Well, Pivot experts will provide resources and assistance every Tuesday from noon until 4 at the African American Chamber. That's over on Gilbert Avenue. Walk-ins are welcome, or you can call 513-751-9900. I'm Curtis Fuller. Have a nice day.